Alright, let's get to it. So you want to straighten geometry in Blender. There's a couple of ways to do it, but I'm going to show you a method that I always use. So let's say you have a plane. It looks something like this. See, if you look at the geometry, it looks wonky, isn't it? So for some reason you want to flatten it, straighten it, flat on the ground. How would you do it? I'll show you how. It's better to view it in orthographic mode, like this. So you want to align this out of place vertex to the ones that are correct. This one and this one. So you can do that by selecting one of the vertices, the correct vertices, and putting a cursor on top of it, and using that as a pivot point. So we can do that by going up here in the pivot point tab and choose 3D cursor and reselect the vertex that you want to fix, and you want it to move on the x-axis so it can match the orientation of the one that we added the pivot point to. So you can do that by scaling x 0. Now it's that vertex is aligned to the pivot point that we made. We can do the same for the y-axis. Select this vertex, add a cursor, and then reselect the vertex that you want to fix, scale y 0. There you go. It's all squares now. But when you move around, you can see that it's still floating. If you go to orthographic view, it's still up there. You want it aligned to the other vertices. Same method, but this time we don't have to add a pivot point since it's already in there, here. So the only thing we need to do is just scale it to the z-axis by 0. Ta-da! Now you have a flat plane again. Now what if you have something a little bit more complicated? Say something like this that has fractals on it. You might still be able to fix it, but it's not going to be perfect. The way you can do it is by doing the same method, using the same method. You can select a pivot point, add a cursor on top of it, and then select all these vertices that you want aligned to that pivot point. And then you want to move it along the x-axis, so go straight, scale x 0. Same thing for these ones, scale x 0. Oops, sorry, that's supposed to be y. My mistake, because we're moving it upwards in this perspective at least. So these are straight. Now you can do the same for these other edges. Select this correct vertex, add a cursor on top of it, and select the vertices that you want to align to it. Scale y 0. There you go. Then do the same thing. Select a vertex, add a cursor, select the vertices you want to fix, scale x 0. It's a square now, but as you can see, it still have bumps. That's an easy fix. So the way you can select all of these vertices is you can go to wireframe mode, or you can just stay in solid mode and press A. I have a habit of putting it in wireframe mode and making a square just to select everything. Doesn't matter as long as it works. So select them all, scale Z 0. Now it's flat. But as you can see, the edges inside the plane is still misaligned. It's all in different angles. What you can do, that method can also work with edges. You can select these edges, one of the edges that you want to fix, and scale it on an axis. But this time, let's just do it for tutorial's sake. So we want to scale it in the x-axis, scale x0. As you can see, it goes to the pivot point. We don't want that. So what we can do is change the pivot point type to individual origins. That way, every selection has its own origin, and that origin will be our pivot point. Also, when you do that, you can select multiple edges as long as it's parallel to each other. And if it's scale, and we do the scaling now, it should work fine. Scale x0, put it in solid mode so you can see better. Now they're all straight. Now let's do the same for the y-axis. They're all straight. Well, obviously the faces they're not even. This one's smaller, this one's bigger. But once you do that, it will be easier to work with. You can just slide the edges around, make the best guess. There we go. Yeah. Also, it's not only useful for fixing stuff. You can also use it for modeling. For example, you want to flatten Suzanne's head for some reason. And do the same thing. Go to orthographic view, wireframe mode, vertex select the vertices you want to flatten, scale it on an axis, 0. Ta-da! Suzanne's head is flat now. Now I can do all sorts of stuff like shooting some faces, scaling. Yeah. So those are some of the ways that you can flatten geometry in Blender. Thanks for watching.